Welcome back to another edition of DBSN Overtime. I'm JD Lowe.
And I'm Eli Baxter. And we've got another hectic week. A lot of big games this week happening in NFL and college football and all other sports.
Yeah, lots of upsets, lots of moving around in the standings, so it's going to be a fun one.
Yep. And we're going to start out as usual with our NFL week review. Week 11, it was a big one. Started out on Thursday night when the Eagles took down the Washington Commanders 26-18.
Yeah, veteran QB Jalen Hurts took on rookie Jaden Daniels. It was a good game. Jalen Hurts came out on top with the Eagles, threw for 221 yards. Good game for him. Jaden Daniels, rookie QB, a good game for him as well. Threw for 191 yards and had one touchdown.
Yep. And a big day for running back Saquon Barkley as he had 26 carries on the day, 146 yards, and 2 touchdowns. The Eagles won thanks to their 20-point fourth quarter, so big game there for them.
And the the Ravens took on the Steelers. The Ravens would fall 16-18.
Yep, I was in Pittsburgh. Lamar Jackson had a decent game, did throw for 207 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Russell Wilson, he had pretty similar stats, just without a touchdown. Pittsburgh was in the lead after every quarter, so if you're doing that, you're going to win the game.
Yeah, Russell Wilson, a QB who a lot of people thought might be kind of washed now or done with playing as well as he has in the past, threw for a pretty good game there. So happy to see him be able to come out on the winning side.
Yeah, Mike Tomlin believed in him in the beginning of the season. So, and then a big one. Chiefs, they're finally not undefeated anymore. They headed to New York and took on the Buffalo Bills, and they fell short 30-21.
Yeah, that was a fun one. It was a QB battle to the end with Josh Allen sealing the deal for the Bills late in that game.
Yep, Patrick Mahomes, he had a great day. He threw for 196 yards, 3 touchdowns, did have 2 interceptions on the day, but Josh Allen and the Bills came out on top, as Josh Allen had 262 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception.
Yeah, and the Packers would take on the Bears in a rivalry matchup. The Packers would come out on top by just 1 point. It was a close one to the end, and Jordan Love, QB for the Packers, would have a really good game, threw for 261 yards, and Josh Jacobs with the Packers also a good game. He would run for 76 yards. So good game overall for the Packers.
Yep. After the Bears, good start to the season. They're kind of fizzling out now, but looking to close out the remainder of the season. And then the rest of the week scores started out with a dominating fashion. The Lions beat the Jaguars 52-6. Broncos dominated the Falcons 38-6. Seahawks, they beat the 49ers in a surprise upset 20-17. Chargers, they beat the Bengals 34-27 in a close matchup, and the Texans, they won the Battle of Texas after they beat the struggling Cowboys 34-10.
And obviously, no unbeaten teams anymore, as the Chiefs were knocked down by the Bills, and 2 Super Bowl favorites there coming head to head. So yeah, that was a fun one.
Yep, exciting.
And we now look to Week 12 preview. We got some big matchups on the horizon. The 49ers will take on the Packers. The Cardinals will take on the Seahawks. The Eagles will play the Rams, and the Ravens will play the Chargers.
Yep, the Chargers versus Ravens is on Monday Night Football, so going to be an exciting one. The teams on bye are actually the most we've had all season is the Falcons, Bills, Bengals, Saints, Jets, and Jaguars. 6 total teams. Most we've had so far is 4. So
yeah, lots of fantasy coaches here struggling with their lineups looking a lot smaller than usual.
Yep. And then we're going to get into college football Week 12 review, starting out with a big upset. BYU, undefeated no longer. They lost to Kansas 17-13.
Yeah, that was a game that I thought BYU would come out handily on top, but fall into not even a super strong Kansas team. Pretty close margin. It's only 17-13, but yeah, still a big game for Kansas.
Yep, Kansas got a recovered punt fumble from BYU late in the game to seal the deal. So it was a close one. Kansas takes on another big team next week, looking to get another upset.
And Tennessee played Georgia. Georgia came out on top in a very important game for them. They wanted to win again to be able to stay alive for the college football playoff. And they did. They end up winning by a score of 31-17.
Yep. After that, Georgia, they moved to 3rd in the SEC standings, and Tennessee moved down to 4th. QB for Georgia, Carson Beck, he had a great game, 347 yards and 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. So good win there for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, and Arizona State would take on Kansas State, and they would end up winning 24-14.
Yeah, another upset there. Kansas State losing 2 in a row now. 2 upsets, lost to Houston last game, and now losing to Arizona State. Arizona State now moves in the top 25, so they're 8-2. They look like a strong team.
Yeah, every win is important with the new playoff format. So all teams with similar records, it's going to be a battle to the end to see who finishes out on top.
Yep. In similar fashion, in the ACC, number 20 ranked Clemson, they beat Pittsburgh, who's been struggling as of late. After their 7-0 start, they are now 7-3, losing their past 3 games. It looks like after Pittsburgh's rough patch here, they're going to fall out of the CFP playoff race. Clemson still needs to finish strong and hope to make the ACC championship game.
Yeah, and Missouri would take on South Carolina, and they would fall in another close one, 30-34.
Yep, Missouri not doing well this year, losing some tough games, getting blown out by Texas A&M and Alabama earlier in the year, and now losing this one. It's not a good look for the team. So definitely out of the playoff race as well.
And LSU, who was off to a little bit of a hotter start earlier in the year, they would end up falling 16-27 to Florida, who moves to 5-5 on the year, and LSU falls to 6-4.
Yep, LSU they struggled lately. They've lost their last 3 games after starting out 6-1. So not exciting for them. They're going to miss the playoffs as well. Should be unranked after this week too. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see how all the rankings shake up after a busy week.
Yep. And then we're going to move into the CFP rankings. It stays the same in the top 5. Second week in a row that the Big Ten's had have 4 teams in the top 5. So what's the playoff picture looking like?
Number 1 will stay the same, Oregon. They remain undefeated, and they'll stay at number 1. Ohio State stays at number 2. Their only loss, obviously, coming to number 1, Oregon. Texas moves to number 3. Penn State at number 4. And number 5 is Indiana.
Yep. The 4 teams with the byes are Oregon, Tennessee, Miami, and Boise State now too. It's the top 4 teams, conference champions, get byes. So right now Boise State is one of those top 4 teams. And then we would not have a group of 5 school plus Boise State, but they will have a bye, it looks like, most likely as of now.
And it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out with 4 teams from the Big Ten in the top 5. Obviously, just one, the Big Ten champion, would move out to number 1. So it'll be interesting to see how, with the new realignment, what happens.
Yeah, 3 teams could make take that bye spot in the Big Ten: Oregon, Ohio State, or Indiana. So could be an exciting finish here.
And we transition to the Heisman rankings now. Stays relatively the same. We've heard Travis Hunter's name a lot in college football recently. 2-way player, wide receiver, and cornerback. He stays at the top of the list for the Heisman rankings. Running back Austin Janty out of Boise State. He stays hot. He struggled a little bit a few weeks ago, but he stays hot again. He's at number 2 in the rankings. And QB Cam Ward out of Miami. He's been a favorite for a while, and he stays at number 3.
Yep. Travis Hunter, he played 66 snaps on offense and on defense, so a lot of recovery needed there after that game.
It'll be interesting to see if Colorado can move into the playoff format with a star player like him with the new format.
Yep. And then the national championship odds, they remain also relatively the same. Ohio State leads Oregon and Georgia as well.
Yep. And we transition to our picks of the week now. Big matchup out of the Big Ten as Indiana will take on Ohio State. And this will be a big one for the rankings and the playoffs. Indiana is undefeated currently, and Ohio State obviously at 9-1, only having lost to Oregon. Who do you think will come out on top?
Well, I hope the Buckeyes. I'll be at that game, so I'd like to see the Buckeyes win. Winner, obviously, going to the Big Ten championship if they win out. So I think the Buckeyes get it done. Indiana has not played a very good schedule this year. If they lose this game, their best win will be against Michigan. So question if they do lose this game, if they make the playoffs just because of that poor strength of schedule.
Yeah, that's right. It'll be weird with how everything's aligned currently, but yeah, I also think Ohio State would be a good one for them.
Yep. And then 14 BYU, after their loss last week, they head to number 21 Arizona State, who got a big upset last week. Who do you have in this one?
This will be a fun one. I think BYU, obviously coming off a loss, but I mean they've been good the whole year, and I think they'll stay hot and win another one.
I'm going to go with the opposite. I think Arizona State, their crowd is going to pump the boys up in Tempe. I think Arizona State gets the win here.
Yeah, it'll be a good one. And undefeated Army will take on Notre Dame, who's currently 9-1. Who do you think will win in that one?
I think Notre Dame's going to get it done. Army also not playing a very good schedule this year. They haven't really been challenged. I think it's like the Navy game when Notre Dame demolished Navy. I think it's going to be the same outcome.
Yeah, I'd agree with that one. Notre Dame, they've had to battle a little more adversity. And they've shown that they can do it against good teams, so I think they'll come out on top over Army.
I would agree with that one. And then Ole Miss, they're heading to the Swamp against the Florida Gators. Who do you have for this one?
I'm gonna have to go with Ole Miss. Ole Miss, I mean, they've been good all year. They've lost 2 games. They're still at number 9, but yeah, I think they'll come out on top.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with this one. Florida playing well. Past couple games, stayed close to some teams, but I just don't think they're gonna be able to finish this one out and get the win. So I got the Rebels.
And we're gonna transition to John with Worldwide Wacky Sports.
Underwater hockey, or octopush, began in the 1950s in England, created by divers seeking a fun winter fitness activity. Combining hockey and underwater movement, players use short sticks to push a weighted puck along the pool floor. Now played worldwide, it is a fast-paced sport of skill and teamwork beneath the surface.
Thanks, John. That looks kind of fun. I could not hold my breath that long. But we're going to transition into college basketball and a couple updates from the past week. Starting out with Arizona, they get upset on the road against the Wisconsin Badgers. They lose 103-88. High-scoring game there.
Yeah, that was a good one. And number 2 Alabama, they took on number 13 Purdue in another big matchup, and they would also get upset. They'd lose 87-78.
Yep. And then Purdue later in the week, they got upset. They headed to Marquette and they headed to Wisconsin. They lost the Golden Eagles 76-58. Marquette was ranked number 15, but still an upset there for the Boilermakers.
Yeah. And Alabama would also come out on top over the number 25 ranked Illinois, and they'd win by a score of 100-87.
Yep. And in that one, Alabama had Grant Nelson starting at 23 points, and then off the bench they had Aiden Holloway who dropped 18. So big momentum shifter there for the Tide.
Yeah. And we turn to NHL news. Big news out of Boston as the Bruins fired their head coach, Jim Montgomery, after the Bruins started the year 8-9-3, which not a bad record for most teams in the NHL, but the Bruins, who last year were ranked number 7 in the league, and just 2 years ago they had the best record out of any team in the NHL ever. So big expectations for Boston that they failed to meet. So they thought it would be best to turn to a new coach, try to figure it out. But they've had some problems lingering in the back with star goalie Jeremy Swayman. He was just signed to an $8.25 million a year contract that, he had some expectations also to be playing pretty well. Struggling right now a little bit with an .884 save percentage and a 3.47 goals against average, whereas backup Jonas Korpisalo, the former Blue Jackets starter, he has a .901 and a 2.74 save percentage and goals against average respectively, which looking like Korpisalo could steal the starting job right now if things keep going the way they're going. And star player Connor McDavid, he's up to his usual antics right now, coming off a week where he earned Player of the Week in the NHL. He had 8 points in just 3 games. He's looking to take back the league-leading amount of points, as Nathan McKinnon and the Avalanche are struggling right now a little bit, so we'll see what happens.
Well, thank you, JD. We're going to send it to Alex with This Week in Sports.
This Week in Sports. On November 22nd, legendary NFL running back O.J. Simpson takes the stand in a murder trial involving ex-wife Nicole Simpson and friend Ronald Goldman. O.J. took the stand to listen to witness trials and later declined any involvement in the murder. Simpson would later be found not guilty.
Thank you, Alex. We're going to transition into the NBA. We're going to start out with the NBA Cup, still in group play. In the East, we've got our 3 leaders in our 3 different groups. We've got the Orlando Magic, who sit in 2-0. Detroit Pistons, a surprise, who are at 2-0 after their very poor performance last season. And then the Atlanta Hawks in Group C, they are also 2-0. They've got wins over the defending champions, the Celtics, and the Washington Wizards. And then in the West, we've got the Houston Rockets and the Portland Trail Blazers. They are tied for the lead in Group A. They're both 1-0. And then in Group B, we've got the Los Angeles Lakers. They are 2-0. And then in Group C, we've got the Golden State Warriors, who have wins over the Mavericks and the Grizzlies. And then a couple scores from our last NBA Cup date on Tuesday. Cleveland Cavs, they took a tough loss to the Boston Celtics. Sad. Their undefeated run has come to an end. They lost 120 to 117. Charlotte Hornets, they fell to the Brooklyn Nets. Denver Nuggets, they beat the Memphis Grizzlies. And then the New Orleans Pelicans, they lost to the Dallas Mavericks. And then the Thunder, they lost to the San Antonio Spurs in a surprise. And then the LA Lakers, they took the win over the Utah Jazz. And then into the regular season standings, the Cavs, they still sit atop the Eastern Conference standings at 16-1. They had a win last night over the Pelicans. The Boston Celtics, they follow closely behind at a record of 12-3. They play the Washington Wizards tomorrow. And then the Golden State Warriors, they lead the West at a record of 11-3. They beat the Hawks last night, 120-97. And then the Oklahoma City Thunder, with a little bit of change up in the standings last night after their win, they are 12-4. They beat the Trailblazers last night. And then we're also going to transition into the MLS. We got second round of the playoffs coming up. Who's starting out?
Saturday games, and New York City FC, they beat FC Cincinnati, and they'll play the Red Bulls FC at City Field.
Yep, Red Bulls, they got the win over the Columbus Crew last round, and then LAFC, they take on the Seattle Sounders. LAFC beat Vancouver Whitecaps in their last round, and then Seattle Sounders, they beat the Houston Dynamo. And then on Sunday, the winner of the New York City FC game and the New York Red Bulls game will take on Orlando City SC, or the winner of Orlando City SC versus Atlanta United. Atlanta United getting a big win in their first round against Inter Miami, one of the favorites. They won the Supporters Shield in the regular season. And then Orlando SC, they beat Charlotte FC in their first round. And then LA Galaxy, they're going to host Minnesota United FC. LA Galaxy got a big win over the Colorado Rapids, absolutely destroyed them both games. And then Minnesota United, they got a big win over Real Salt Lake, and that'll be played at Dignity Health Sports Park.
Yeah, should be a fun one in the MLS playoffs.
Yep. And then out of the MLS, we got some news. Inter Miami manager Gerardo Martino steps down, citing personal reasons. He exits after Inter Miami's first round loss in the playoffs. So they had a lot of money on their hands, so might have been asked to step down. We don't know, but only can speculate now. And then FC Cincinnati, they set an MLS transfer record fee after their purchase of Kevin Denke for $16.2 million. He's a forward. He's going to make some big progress in the team after their somewhat lack of a performance in the playoffs and near the end of the regular season. So he's going to be big addition there for the FC Cincinnati. That purchase surpasses Atlanta United's $16 million transfer of Thiago Almada, that is now out of the team and not currently with Atlanta. So we're going to transition it into Ohio sports with Ian.
Thanks, guys. This week in Ohio sports, we got the Cleveland Browns taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers tonight on Thursday Night Football at 8:15. The Cincinnati Bengals, meanwhile, will enjoy their bye week. It's a massive showdown on Saturday at the Shoe as the Ohio State Buckeyes take on the undefeated Indiana Hoosiers at 12 p.m. on Fox. Tonight at 7, the Columbus Blue Jackets face the Tampa Bay Lightning. Then, on Saturday, the Jackets take on the Carolina Hurricanes at Nationwide Arena, also at 7 p.m. Last night, the Cavs defeated the New Orleans Pelicans 128-100 after suffering their first defeat of the year on Tuesday to the Celtics. The Ohio State men's basketball team will take on Campbell tomorrow night at 7 at home. And finally, the Ohio State women's team absolutely destroyed Ohio yesterday, 106-42, and they will take on Bowling Green on Sunday at 1. That's it for this week's Ohio Sports Roundup. This has been Ian Miller. Now, back to Eli and JD.
Thank you, Ian, for another edition of Ohio Sports Roundup, and thank you for watching another episode of DBSN Overtime. I'm JD Lowe.
And I'm Eli Baxter, and we will not see you next week because next week is Thanksgiving, but we will see you the following week.